Hey guys, what's going on? Troy at Mountain Man Treasure here. And hey, there we've got some people in there. I wasn't sure if this was showing up on the YouTubes, but we've got Betty in Indiana and the Nurse Flipper. The Nurse Flipper was here 30 minutes early.
Yeah,
I,
she's the best.
I know. Kat, I don't know if you're really bored or if you're that dedicated, but that's awesome.
Probably
And
both.
now I'm distracted because something just sold. I need to stop looking at that. Um, yeah, thanks guys for coming in. We're going to stall a little bit until people filter their way in here. For those that are watching back later, just hang out because it's kind of fun. We got Emily Conway in today. There she is. Hey, Mark's here. Mark, thanks for stopping by, man. Mark is actually in town with me. He's sitting across town somewhere watching. Mark snatches up all the vintage outdoors and hunting stuff that I don't know anything about. And he's like, oh, that's $100 pair of pants right there. I don't know. I left behind like 4 Bibles at a thrift store in one of my videos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at him and he goes, oh yeah, those Bibles you left. Yeah, he sold them now for like, what is it, Mark? Like $200 now in total. There's so much that I don't know.
Friend like that here locally. He actually only sells board games. So I'll like find board games for him, or like he'll find one and I'm like, I saw that at the same thrift store, but I left it for you. Type thing.
Awesome. Looks like we are getting some people in, which is awesome. I'm going to pull it up on my phone too so that I can see. Hey, there it is. We got 9 in here so far. Guys, thanks for coming in. We're just going to chat for a couple more minutes. Well, we'll give it till like 5 after, till people show up in here. Kat is here. Marie is here. Rev Resale is in. Hey, Dale's here. Dale, I saw you bought an Enaman the other day. And I didn't feel bad because Kevin had the same hard time trying to figure out how to pronounce your name that I did that day in my chat. Yeah. I was like, hey, I did that when she showed up. I didn't know how to pronounce it either. Kevin's awesome. We actually have a signed, he always wears the Titleist hat on Commonwealth Picker. If you don't watch Commonwealth Picker, you're missing out. He's been doing this for 20 years. That man knows so much about this. And he signed his hat on his channel for us and sent it to me when he retired it. And that's a 500 sub giveaway here pretty quick.
She says Emily, not Frumpa.
Dale Frumpa. I like it.
Yeah, that's how I pronounce it in my head.
That's what I'm going with now is Dale Frumpa. So yeah, this is our first. I've done lives on Sundays, just kind of as I pack, just kind of a hangout. But this is our first, and I think what I'm going to do is have these. I can't do these every week. I can't keep up with that. This is a part-time thing for me, but I think I want to try to do these maybe every other week, so like twice a month. And maybe Emily will circle around again, or if somebody watching wants to come in. I don't know what we're going to talk about. This isn't necessarily straight reseller tonight. And you know what? That's okay. And so if that's not you, if you're like, you know what, I tuned in to find out how to ship a board game. Probably not. That's probably not your thing. That's not what we're talking about tonight. But I think it's still valuable. And I think it's something that there are different groups that have to deal with anxiety, deal with depression, well, everybody does. But I think there's certain groups that it hits more. And I think resellers probably fall into that group a little bit. If you look at the Venn diagram, because you got a lot of people out there right now that they can't go sourcing. They're actually much more organized than I am. They don't have a death pile to go, well, I've got a whole half a summer of stuff sitting over here. I'll just pull out of that. There's some anxiety there. I mean, some legit anxiety just about getting a paycheck, right? So I think this is something important. And we're going to jump to Emily here. But as I'm going to start just filling you in on, I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on YouTube. But I talk with doctors. In my day job, I host a radio show in the morning, and the last week and now this week, all I'm doing is talking with medical professionals. I'm talking with a congressman about what's going on in Washington. Like, what are we doing to help. I mean, this is what I do. So I wanted to kind of share some of that as we wait for people to come in and as Emily gets warmed up here, because Emily is really the star of the show. I'm just kicking this thing off. I'm really excited to have her on as the first guest of Keeping It Real. I think it's going to be really cool. She's multi-talented YouTuber, reseller, musician, creator. She's just an all-around bright light in the universe, and I think it's fantastic that she's here. But I do want to give some folks some time to filter in. So jump into radio mode for a minute and share some things that I've learned about the COVID-19. Again, this is not necessarily a reseller show. And I get that, but Keeping It Real isn't always going to be resellery. But first, the bug itself, right? The coronavirus, it's a generic term. It's the type of virus that causes some of these pandemics. Pandemic, scary word. It's an epidemic that is worldwide. It crosses international borders. That's all it is, right? Like when we have these people declaring states of emergency, that doesn't mean the sky is falling. That means we need access to this bank account. And these are the words that get it to us. I've noticed the spike in town every time we had first it was the state, the governor declared a state of emergency. People at Costco went crazy. And then I think the national came after that. And then we had county, we had city. Every time we had one of those declarations of emergency here in my town, the anxiety went up because it sounds scary. All that means is like when the city declared state of emergency, that means, hey, we understand there's something going on. The federal government, the state government, they have funds for it. This is what we do to get to it. That's it. That's all that is. But this pandemic, right? SARS, MERS, they're both coronaviruses. By and large, they're not very tough. That's why washing your hands takes care of it. Hot water, soap, everything that mom told you, wiping down the counter, all that stuff actually gets rid of this germs. I can talk. Now, the phrase of 2020 we've already coined, right? Social distancing. What we're doing here is tough in a lot of ways. We're surrendering lifestyle in a lot of ways. We're surrendering maybe a paycheck for a lot of people. Businesses are trying to figure out how to survive. Employees losing their job. I've got friends that have been laid off because of this thing. But the goal here is, I'm sure you've heard, it's squashing that curve, right? In China, the thing peaked like Everest because everybody was living close to each other. Everybody got sick. Well, all of a sudden, it dropped off a cliff because everybody that got sick was going to get sick. Well, that's a good thing. It shortened the curve, right? The bad thing was they overran their hospitals. Same thing happened in Italy, but exacerbating the issue in Italy, a lot of the people that live in northern Italy are very, very old. It's one of the oldest countries out there, actually. That's why they're having a lot of troubles. But what we're trying to do here, I talked with the chief medical officer at our hospital. And what we're trying to do, instead of this in China, we're trying to do this. That's what we're trying to do. And even more than this, we're trying to squash down the top. Well, what happens when you squash down the top? Well, there's not as many people sick at one time. You're not overrunning the hospitals. That's a good thing. But it also means that we're making this thing last longer. And so that's a give and take, right? We're making this thing last longer, but we're not going to overrun our hospitals. And that's why we're doing that. I actually talked with somebody today on my show. She runs, we do movies there. There's an art space there, live performances there. She said it really beautifully, I thought. She said, we're voluntarily choosing to suffer for longer so that our friends and neighbors can suffer less. And I thought that was really cool. And that's what we're doing. The problem is it makes it last longer, and it's not fun, right? And that can lead to anxiety. I've been training for this my whole life, this social distancing thing. I could live in a cabin in the woods and I would be fine. I'd get lonely every once in a while. I might go Tom Hanks and start talking to a pine cone, but I'd by and large be okay. But there are a lot of people that aren't. There are a lot of people that need that outlet, right? They need to talk to somebody. And right now in Germany, starting today, they made it illegal for the next 2 weeks to go out anywhere outside of your home or outside of your office in groups of more than 2. So we're not to that point yet, right? I mean, it could be worse. But when we talk about we're suffering, we're not just talking economically. That certainly plays into it. And we're going to get into what we're talking about today. Emily Conway, as I said, she's a great YouTuber. She's a growing eBay reseller. I'm so glad I connected with her early on because I've got to watch her grow, and now she's like pushing 700 subscribers. I'm not even to 500 yet. She's far cuter than I am, which is part of the problem. But I'm really glad that I've connected with her. And she's been open in several of her videos about struggling and maybe not struggling, but just dealing with mental health. And that's what I wanted to talk about tonight because it's something that a lot of people are dealing with right now. And a lot of them in the reseller world, I'm sure. A lot of services are shut down, and really people are in almost isolation in some instances. So, Emily, thanks for hanging out. I guess we've got 16 folks in here right now, which is awesome. Introduce yourself to folks a little bit. Tell them, who you are, what you do, and how did you kind of find yourself in the whole reselling life to start off with?
Okay, well, I'm Emily Conway. I'm a stay-at-home mother, so as you can imagine, I'm also very familiar with this whole social distancing thing. I've been a reseller for about 8 months. My mom actually got me involved in reselling. She's the one who planted that seed, and it sort of grew inside. And of course, I fell through the YouTube rabbit hole, right? So, and now I'm a part of the YouTube rabbit hole. And so I have my own YouTube channel now, and I am still new. I'm not gonna say like, hey, copy everything I do, but I'm learning, and we can learn together. If you're also brand new, you might not feel so bad about being brand new, because I am too. So, but I do absolutely love reselling. It's definitely given me a whole new lease on life in general, and it's definitely one of my biggest passions. What else did you want to know?
I don't know. Well, yeah. How did you find yourself? I mean, when you take up eBay, that's one thing, but then to really kind of immediately go, hey, let's do YouTube and learn that at the same time. Like,
Yeah. Well, actually, it was definitely Harry Tornado who encouraged me to try it. So I started with just unbagging one of his sweaters, and then he just thought it was so funny. And then I just like got 100 subscribers that day because everyone like wanted to see that video or whatever. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm doing this.
right.
Like that's just sort of how it started.
Well,
um,
and you've been real open about various mental health issues. You even kind of drop for those that aren't subscribed, and you should go to subscribe to Emily Conway right now. You even kind of drop a little recognition of that in every show now.
Yeah, I do. I'm very passionate about mental health. It's one of those things where it's like, how much do I really want to talk about it? Like, I could go on for a long time, but this is definitely just a reselling channel, so I don't want to go over the top. So, what I do actually is I have these little Furbies, and so they show like what I'm going through in my mental health that day. So the green one's just a good mental health day. The other two are over there, but I have a black one if I'm having a bad mental health day. And then like a beige looking one as like just neutral mental health, like nothing serious, but not like amazing. So that's my little nod to the mental health community because I'm very passionate about it. And it's something that I just love talking about. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of fun to find them, right? I mean, usually you place them
Yeah.
right there. You should. It's like the pineapple in Psych. I love that show. There's a pineapple in every episode. And so
Exactly.
we watch it, going, "Where's the pineapple in this show?"
So then, but people are like, what's the green one mean again? And I don't mind explaining it over and over again. That's fine. But I do have a little like guide in my description. So anytime you ever are confused about what does this one mean, you can go in my description and see what that one means.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, so very early on, I think when you started, you had a video where you just sat down and talked about it. I don't think there was a note of reseller stuff in that video. You just kind of opened up.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just having a really hard day and everything just felt overwhelming. I knew I had a lot of things to ship out and I felt like I wasn't doing enough for my kids and just, everything sort of snowballs and you just get this frozen feeling like of this overwhelming feeling. And so I was just sharing that sort of just like, I was literally, I just went on my steps, like my face is all, disheveled and stuff, and I'm just like, I'm having a bad day. So I was definitely keeping it real in that video.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. I mean, it was a powerful video, honestly. I
Oh.
think that because, well, I mean, that's what we're doing here, right? This is keeping it real. I mean, and that's you were just sitting down saying, "Hey, I'm having a real moment," which
For sure.
I think is cool. I mean, is being open, is sharing, is that in and of itself a little bit of a coping strategy for you?
Yes, definitely. Especially with what I have. So I about a year and a half ago I developed PTSD. And so like when people think of PTSD, they think of like a soldier in combat, or you think of a guy coming back from war, but actually twice as many women get PTSD than men. There's lots of things that come with PTSD. And one good thing that helps a lot is sharing, just sharing how you're feeling, and like sort of just admitting, hey, I'm having a bad day. Like that's a very big step in like gaining control of your own mental health. Because if you just like hold it in, or you just like try to ignore it or suppress it, it doesn't help at all. So just getting it out there and just admitting, hey, I'm having a hard time is huge for your mental health.
Yeah. We're talking with Emily Conway today on keeping it real. The first time we've done this show, it's going to happen probably twice a month. So she's made history now. She's the first guest.
Right.
Um, I tend to have a little bit of anxiety about things, but tend to mostly internalize that, which isn't particularly healthy. But this is a time when people who struggle with anxiety, they're going to kind of see that jump into overdrive. I would imagine, right?
Yeah. Yep, and I know a lot about that. So that's why I'm here, I suppose. I'm definitely not a professional. I'm going to say that. Like, but I do have experience with anxiety, depression, lots of heavy things. So I mean, there's a whole list of things that comes with
Yeah,
in dealing with that. But basically, what PTSD is things that you would consider normal. For example, like getting in a car could be normal to you, but for somebody who has a bad experience with that, they might not want to go near a car. And so what happens is your brain literally gives off like fight or flight instincts at random times that don't quite make sense to other people. So like all of a sudden I could be sitting there and then I'll just get anxiety over something triggers me, just a small trigger, right? And so then I have to deal with that trigger. Okay, I'm not really in danger, but you really do feel like you're in danger. And so that I've definitely had to deal with that a lot, is like coping strategies of how to come down from that anxiety and that trigger and to get yourself back on track and feeling normal.
yeah.
Um,
So there's a lot of you have to be aware. I mean, it has to be very intentional because you have to be aware that that's happening, right? In order to
yeah,
have the
that,
two, have the it's the angel and the devil sitting on the shoulder. You have to be able to have that internal conversation.
yes. So that's definitely number one, is just admit, hey, I'm feeling triggered right now. And of course, you hear those jokes around the internet like, oh my,
Right.
God, I'm feeling so triggered because, blah, blah, blah. Like you hear it all the time, triggered, triggered. But like for someone with trauma, like it's very real. Like to be triggered is to really feel um internally that you're not safe. Like I think, well, everybody sort of has this sort of feeling inside that people don't really notice it until it's gone. This feeling that I'm generally safe, like the world is a safe place and I'm safe. But when PTSD comes, all of a sudden things don't feel safe anymore regularly. Like so, all of a sudden you feel unsafe over random things. All of a sudden this idea of the world is generally a safe place, that sort of gets just like a little scratch in it. So like whenever there is something, I have to admit to myself, okay, I'm feeling triggered right now. What's causing this trigger? Just finding out where the trigger came from can be huge, and like feeling more in control of it. And over time it becomes more manageable. Like in the beginning it was very, very difficult. Like I was just struggling with triggers everywhere, and it would happen all the time, just day in and day out. I was just exhausted dealing with triggers. But over time, I've been able to manage that, and it's gotten a lot better. So now like I could experience a trigger and I know just like brush it off or get out of that situation. And I can get through it pretty quickly. So it definitely has taken me time to be able to manage it.
So how did you get to that point, right? Because there's a lot of people probably on the opposite end of this. You're
Yeah.
finish line is the wrong word, but you're at least at the point where, like you said, you understand it, you can feel when it's coming up.
Yeah.
What about the people that are where you were? I mean, how did you get to this point?
A lot of help from other people who are also in the same shoes or were in the same shoes as me. So it's like I was in new territory. I did not know what I was dealing with. So I basically I found groups on Facebook. I found lots of other people who have been through the same thing as me. And I'm like, hey, help me out. You almost have to like hold their hand, like guide me through this. Tell me what I need to do. Because everything feels crazy right now. Nothing feels normal anymore. So you really have to rely on other people. Like for me, I had to contact somebody multiple times a day to say like, this is what I'm going through, blah blah blah. Like just talking to a friend that was someone who actually understood too, because it's like any of my other friends who haven't been through before, they're like, I have no idea. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like you have to have somebody who's gone through the same thing as you, to guide you through it, because if not, like nobody else knows, like so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
you have to be willing though to do that too, right? I mean, that takes something to step forward and say, "Hey, guess what?
yeah.
Something is happening up here that I feel is not normal, and I need to talk to you about it."
Yep. It was a lot. So I definitely went to therapy. There's nothing wrong with therapy. um, and so my therapist guided me through that as much as she could. She sort of helped me see things about myself, and she really helped me. And I was a part of a support group, in person and online. So I did everything that I could basically. And when you first get it, it just takes time to get through it. Like there's really no safe, or like not safe. There's no quick way through it. You just have to get through it. And it feels so slow in the beginning. But as time goes on, you almost forget about it and it doesn't become such a major part in your life anymore. It's sort of like, okay, I can manage this, and it's just in the background sometimes. So, but in the beginning, like you can't function.
Yeah. So how does that tie in then with the reseller world? I mean,
Okay.
because what I mean, because this is like we talked about. I mean, this is important for anybody,
Mm-hmm.
but there are probably, like you said, triggers. There's probably things that cause anxiety or things
Yeah.
like that surrounding the COVID-19 and
Mm-hmm.
reselling.
Yeah, so actually reselling for me has been huge in helping me with my mental health, because for me, reselling is safe. It's easy to think about numbers and how much is this going to ship out for, and this buyer has a question about an item. Like I could be going through some anxiety and then someone will just message me like, "Hey, they'll ask me some question about an item," and then I'm like grounded again. It's a grounding tool for me actually, so it sort of saved me in a lot of ways. Like reselling has really been a lifeline for me. Um, but anyways, so there's that. That's how reselling helps me with it. I think somebody said no sales causes anxiety. That's for sure, especially if that's your number one. Um,
Mhm.
Definitely no sales causes anxiety. Uh, but yeah, grounding techniques basically. Reselling is a grounding technique for me. So it's definitely something that helps me stay in the present, like without anxiety or flashbacks or anything like that. Like it helps me stay in the present. Um,
Yeah.
so that's how reselling ties into that. Um, Now I was going to talk about triggers, because
Mhm.
um, for me, something really random would trigger my anxiety, right? Like, but so I know a lot about triggers and how to avoid triggers and things like that. Like with this virus and everything, like we have triggers all over the place when we are watching the news, when we're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, or you name it. It's everywhere right now. Triggers that trigger anxiety and fear in us are literally everywhere. So, one major thing is to find one source to just get the information get in, get the information, and get out. Don't read every detail of everything that's, how does this virus make you feel? And, like there's so many different things you can read that will put a lot of fear in you. So you have to practice avoidance, I guess.
Yeah.
There's things I need to avoid because I know it's going to trigger my PTSD. So, like, in the same way, we need to focus on, okay, what's the information that pertains to me, and then get on out there, like.
Yeah, I was actually chatting with Emily before the show, and doing some research ahead of talking with her. I read about a study that they did about well, surrounding the Boston Marathon bombings, and they found in relation to how much were people inundated with the news. How much were they constantly looking at stories about the Boston Marathon bombing? The people that watched more coverage and were constantly watching that actually had 1 year later had more issues than the people that were actually at the site, that were actually in the bombing, because they were just constant. That's all they were hearing. And so I think in this 24-hour news cycle, you have to be able to turn off the radio, turn off the TV, watch something on Netflix rather than watching the news. That's okay. I mean, and I think that's a healthy thing.
Yeah. One thing that I did today that really helped me ease my anxiety, like because we were just given this giant, like, elephant, that we just sort of have to work around. And it's like, do we acknowledge the elephant?
Mhm.
Move around it? What do we do now? We are all adjusting to this, and it's such a huge adjustment. But so we have this stress that we don't really realize we have, but like, we're dealing with this, like, we have these stress thoughts about, like, okay, what does that mean for groceries? What does that mean for my reselling business? We have this stress. And one thing that really helped me today was, me and my husband and my son, we just went through these questions and just asked each other, like, silly questions, just to, like, get us back into, like, hey, here's my husband, we're okay, we're safe, establishing that safety.
We'll cut that out later. Nobody will see that part.
Yeah, exactly. Establishing safety just in little ways that you can do that.
What about like sort of meditation and that sort of thing? I mean, is
Yeah.
that something that helps you? I know there are a couple of apps. I haven't tried these, so I'm not going to endorse any one over the other. But
I,
as far as I've talked with a couple of people, talked about Headspace is one that has been talked about. Calm is another one. I think they're eventually paid, but there are free, just like any app. You get so much free, and you might not need an app necessarily to do that. But is that something that helps you or could help others?
Yeah, the thing for me is I need meditation, like somebody actually telling me something, or else my brain will just still be spinning of different things going on and stresses and
Mhm.
anxiety. Like, so for me, one thing that I do is I listen to self affirmation YouTube videos. So it's just, it's kind of dorky, but it's like you listen to it and someone just telling you positive things about yourself. Like, so then you're filling your mind with positive things, instead of just sitting in silence and stressing out anyways, because that's what I do. Like, if I'm just like, oh, it's calming music, I'll just be laying there still stressed.
Right.
So if I have something, like someone putting something positive into my head, that really helps me. So I do self affirmation YouTube videos, and I just listen to that at night when I'm feeling stressed. But one good thing is just admitting you feel stressed. Like, it's okay to be stressed. There's nothing wrong with being stressed. Now, when you say it out loud or to a friend, like, you have somebody to talk to about it. That's a huge thing. Like, to just have a friend that you trust, somebody who's not gonna, blab all your feelings, whatever, someone you trust, and just tell them, like, this is what I'm going through, and they can share with you too, and just get it out there, because
Mhm.
then you feel more in control of the emotions. You can actually do something about it. Like, okay, we feel this way. What are we going to do? So definitely self affirmation. Just fill your head with positive things. Whatever works for you, maybe writing down something positive, but just try and work toward positivity, because everything right now is pulling us into this stress spiral that we can't really do anything about. I do have some charts.
Yeah, Emily came prepared.
Yeah. So actually, so I have this. So this is where we want to be, is in our sphere of control. Things that we actually can control. So for example, we can control our listing or our space in our home, things around us. We can focus on the things that you can control, because there's a lot out here that's just like screaming at us. This is called the sphere of influence, by the way. But this is stuff we can control. And then things that we have no influence over, things that we can't control. That's the stuff that's like screaming at us right now. So if we can stay in this sphere of control, that will be really helpful. So focus on things in your house with your family. Like, do everything you can, of course, like what they're telling you, just follow their guidelines, obviously wash your hands and do everything that you've heard 1,000 gajillion times. But just try and focus on that. What can I control right now? And what can I control today? Because of course we're thinking about the future. We're thinking about, like our heads can spiral so quickly.
Mhm.
So definitely think about things you can control.
How big is social interaction in this when people are kind of stuck in their houses? I mean, it's like I said, for me, it's not that big a deal, but there's others that,
Yeah.
after a couple days, they're like, I need to talk to somebody that's not related to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we definitely have a really good online community here with resellers. Like, I'm so glad to have my reselling community. Like, if I'm feeling stressed or anything like that, I can reach out to one of you guys. I've definitely talked to my mom a little bit. She's here. She's commenting here and there. But yeah, I just told her some of my stresses the other night, just about feeling fearful, for this reason or that reason. And she kind of helped me see, like, here's the actual facts. Like, don't worry. Like, she just helped me talk through that. But I think now that might not be as big of an issue, since we have online resources. But
Mm-hmm.
there definitely are people who like that want face-to-face interaction. Like, I'm definitely like you. I'm like, I was born for this. You know what I mean? I'm the same way. But yeah, there's definitely people who want that.
I suppose even just getting outside, like even if there's the shelter in place, you can go outside and you can
Yeah,
get air, you can get sun.
that's really good for grounding. Like, just staring at the sky, just like getting some peace in your, like, get away from all the noise. Go outside, just go somewhere quiet. Because really, mostly the world is quiet. Away from people and away from the online craziness sometimes.
Realizing that these are all varied to some extent, right? Specific to individuals, but what are some of the warning signs that things are starting, as you said, like the spiral? Like, what is it that kind of clues you in on, hey, I'm starting to go down a path maybe I don't want to go down?
At this point, with my particular issues, I can know what to avoid. But if something comes up suddenly, I know, like, my fight or flight instincts kick in. You just sort of, you feel hijacked almost. Like, you feel sort of frozen. You go into fight, flight, or freeze, where really your breathing starts to what is it? Slow down,
Mhm.
or is it speed up? I don't know. But
I don't know.
your breathing changes.
Yeah.
I was actually going to get into breathing exercises too, some breathing techniques and stuff like that, if you guys wanted. But yeah, your breathing changes, and you sort of feel like you need to fight something. Like your instincts kick in. That's when you know that you're triggered. And so admitting, hey, I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling the weight of this right now. Let's try some techniques, right?
Yeah. I'm just trying to scroll back through some of it. We got a chatty group in here today. That's awesome.
Yeah. We should talk. We should bring some of these comments up.
I know. So because you're home with kids,
Yeah.
right? Worth probably considering. Kids are going to be pretty scared right now, potentially, right? Because as much as we don't understand fully all the time what's going on, they certainly don't. And they're going to feed off of whatever vibes we're putting off.
Mm.
is that something that you work to be a little bit conscious of?
Yes, actually, just a few days ago, I was dealing with a lot of stress from this because I found out my husband wasn't going to be coming home from work, that he was still going to have to be working. And all of a sudden, like in our county, the numbers were climbing. So, like, right then and there, I just felt really stressed. Like, I probably have this right now. Like, like that's what I thought immediately. And like, I was just like so concerned, like the rest of the day. And my kids definitely could feel that. Like they didn't know, they just knew that mommy was a little bit short today.
Mhm.
Like that's all they kind of know. And so that's gonna happen. It just is. And I wish I could have been different, but really it's okay. Like you don't need to be perfect. You know what I mean? Like it's okay to struggle with these big issues like, do I have it? Or and the kids are actually really flexible. Like they will forgive mommy, for her momentary shortness, and they just love you anyways. Like as long as you're not like that all the time.
Right.
Like after dealing with that and just I think that coming to a level of like acceptance over this virus a little bit might help. Like, okay, if I were to get it, right? It's not the end of the world. Like it's not going to be the end of the world. Like I think that a certain level of it is very serious. It's a very serious virus.
Mhm.
Get it, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult. But I think that a lot of fear comes from like, what if I get it? And what if what if this and what if that? And then you start to go down these rabbit holes. But I guess coming to a level of if it comes, it comes, and that's, we're going to deal with it
Right.
and we need to deal with it, and just sort of coming to a little bit of acceptance over it. You know what I mean? I think that that is key to like not being so fearful right now.
Well, in terms of reselling too, you can bring in the kids, right? I mean, you can bring the
Yeah.
family into the reselling process. My daughter helped me test out a GameCube this weekend. I was like, you know what? This is the perfect time to list it. If you got GameCubes, I listed it last night. It's sold tonight.
Yeah.
So that thing, those are going to move.
Yeah.
But we sat there and played through all the games. I was like, you know what? These are all clean, but we have to make sure they work. So we went through and played
Uh,
games for a while.
yeah. Like nothing has changed for me. The lady next door, she's still working, and my husband's still working, and so there was a lot of stress at first. Like, okay, like germs could still be brought to this house. But now I've come to a place of like, all right, I'm here for my husband. I'm here for the nurse that I'm watching her kids for, and like that's just sort of my role in this situation right now. There's not a lot I can do. That's the thing about control. The sphere of control. There's not a whole lot you can control
Right.
about big giant virus beast, and like so focus on what you can control and try to stay there. Because if you start to get out of that in your mind, then you're going to be stressed. So, yeah, there's not a lot I can control about the situation.
Yeah.
So I'm accepting of it at this point.
Well, I mean, it's important not to, like you said, not to focus solely on what you can't control. I mean, which
Exactly.
is, I guess, what watching the news all the time is, right? And
Yes.
what's happening over in Italy right now? Well,
Mm,
we can't be aware, but let's not
yes.
make that the focus.
Mhm.
Shift to what you can control,
Yeah. Like
and
you're
it's got to be a little bit. That's got to be intentional, right? Like you have to make sure that your brain is going there.
Yeah, and especially now, it's going to be hard. There's going to be times when we're probably going to spiral because of, oh my gosh, we just found out there's this many cases now, or this, like, I think it's okay to stress out a little bit, like, but try and bring yourself down from it. Notice when it's happening, and do have a list of things that you do to bring yourself down again. So
Mhm.
recognize when it happens, then try steps to bring yourself down. One good thing I do is a breathing exercise. So maybe you guys have a pad of paper or something to write it down, but it's called the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. So what you do is you breathe in for 4 seconds, and then you hold it for 7 seconds, and then you breathe out for 8 seconds. And I tell you, this works. This is very helpful. Like, especially when you hold your breath, that is a big part of it. Like, it brings your level of stress down. Like, if you just do it a couple times, it really does help.
Yeah.
Like it's helped me in all of the times that I'm stressed. Like I have to deal with these triggers all the time. So that is one major technique I use when I'm feeling really stressed out, and just getting out of the situation. Just walk away. Um, yeah, see DLJ from PA. She says it works. It does. It does work. Definitely just walk out of your house, just sit. If it's nice weather, that is. It's not so nice here in New York. It's actually snowing today and I don't want to be outside. But just go somewhere else, go away from the news, and just sit for like 5 minutes. Like have a plan for when you're feeling these ways. How am I going to deal with it?
Yeah. How important is that to have that plan and to know if this, then fill in the blank.
Yeah, it's very important, and I think that once you get started down a way, it's hard for you to get back. It takes time. Like if you don't have a plan in place, it could take days for you to get out of the spiraling. So definitely practice your plan, put it in motion, actually do the plan. Okay, because you could write
It's
it.
like a fire drill when you were kids, right? In elementary school, like you had to make your parents like, okay, this is what
Yeah,
we do when we smell smoke.
exactly. So have the plan in place. Don't just write it down and then forget about the plan. Do the plan.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the big thing is, and it cycles back to what you started talking about with, I had to talk to somebody.
Mhm.
It's okay to not feel right,
Yeah.
and it's okay to not be okay. And it's something where you really do need to reach out. I mean, this is something that I would assume that you can deal with, or most people can deal with on their own.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So give us more. You're prepared.
Yeah, I am.
You got charts, you got graphs.
Yeah, I do. I have one more.
Awesome.
So I'm sure probably you've seen this a few times. So I'm just going to show you now. It's the hierarchy of needs, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so this is I just use this to explain why we're feeling so stressed out. Basically, so I don't know if you guys can you read that, Troy?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So there's physiological needs. So when I went to the grocery store this past week, I saw that there were groceries, I could actually get the groceries I wanted. And all of a sudden, I felt my stress levels go down. And that really helped me a lot. Uh,
I'm
okay.
trying to figure out how to get you full screen here.
Oh,
I'm
I
not
see.
trying to ignore you.
You're fine. Um, Here, I'll just do it closer. So, so you feel your stress levels go down when you see everything in the grocery store that you need, right? Those are the physiological needs. Like obviously we need toilet paper, a lot of us, and we aren't getting that so fast, but that's not,
I found some today.
good. um so, you know, that we could use paper towels or something and we'll probably survive. But anyways, safety is a big thing that's being attacked right now. Our sense of safety, just knowing we can't go to the thrift store, for sourcing, or we don't know if we can go anywhere near this person because we don't know if they have the virus or not. Like, I didn't know if my husband had it or not. Like, the numbers were climbing. So, like, I felt really concerned about, like, giving him a hug so your sense of safety is being compromised right now. And so, this is what we want to get is to establish our safety. And then of course we have these other ones like love and belonging. So yeah, but basically right now I use using this as an example because these are the two things being sort of at risk right now, and so that's why we feel such stress. Because I think a lot of people feel it and they don't really know how to explain why we're feeling that way. But that's why our physiological and safety needs are being compromised right now. And so that leaves all this other stuff really difficult to do. Like I find it harder to like list or focus on business and other things that make you feel self-actualized. So like some days you're just going to feel like you just want to just chill and not do anything because you're not quite, you know, past those two levels right now. Those two levels are being attacked right now. So like everything else feels a lot harder to do. Um, so that's just a little explanation as to why it's so difficult to do things right now. I don't know if you,
Right.
Troy, like, do you feel like sort of frozen, or are you able to just pug along and do like your best, or how you doing?
I actually, and it's interesting for me, because I've been out talking with a lot of people still. I'm like your husband, right? Like I'm not in the house. My wife is a teacher.
Hmm.
So they don't have school right now. They're doing online learning. Now, it's supposedly only going to the 27th.
Yeah.
Um, I I don't have any inside information, but I'm pretty sure the governor in a matter of days probably is going to say, you know what, it's the rest of the year, which is hard for them. My wife wants to be there. She's a middle school teacher. She wants to be there teaching her kids. It's hard to teach them over a computer screen. My
Yeah.
daughter's a freshman, and all of a sudden, the last third of her freshman year is maybe done.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
so for me, it's actually harder seeing what's going on with them because for
Yeah.
me, I'm still going to work. I mean, I actually have it's weird. I have a letter in my car from the Department of Homeland Security
Mhm.
saying that I am an essential worker,
Yeah.
and because I'm working at getting information to the public. So I have a letter saying basically it's a get out of jail free card. If a cop pulls me over that I'm not supposed to be on the road, I
Hmm.
show him this letter and he says, "Okay, have a nice day."
Yeah.
Um, if there's a whole bunch of people in lines getting gas, I have another letter that I can show the attendant and say, "Hey, I need gas," and
Hmm.
I cut to the front of the line.
Wow.
It's weird. I mean, it's nice to have, you know. I get to tell my wife, "Look, I'm a big deal. Like, I have these letters." But that's weird to drive around with. But for the most part, my life is I'm still going to work in the morning,
Hmm.
and but they're at home and they've been home for a week. And so that's hard for me is seeing other people's schedule be completely flipped.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot harder for people who need to adjust. Like for me personally, it's nothing has changed. And it feels weird that nothing has changed. I'm like, more things should be changing, you know?
Mhm.
But nothing has really changed for me. But I know that people who both people work and then all of a sudden like they don't have jobs anymore, you know? Like it's tough, you know? This is a big adjustment for a lot of people, you know? Um
Well, and you're right. I mean, it's easy to, you know, I don't I deal with anxiety a little bit. Um, so I mean, it's easy to see why it happened. But the other night, I actually went and basically self quarantined myself in the guest room. I started coughing, and I was having these coughing attacks, and it was for like a half hour, 45 minutes. I couldn't stop as I was trying to go to bed. I was coughing. I'm like, all right, well, I'll figure this out in the morning. But right now, I got to lock myself off in this bedroom because I don't know.
Mhm.
My wife's got lupus, and so she's got well, supposedly she's got a compromised immune system. She never gets sick. I don't know what's going on.
Oh.
Um, but this is potentially a scary thing for her. So I'm sitting there coughing, going,
Mhm.
I've been in contact with all these people, doing my job.
Mhm.
For the most part, the radio station's on lockdown. I mean, we're doing all our interviews on the phone and everything. But if you follow like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon,
Mhm.
um, I was connected to some people that were connected to a guy that's tested positive, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so following it back, I'm like, wait, he was at the press conference. I was at that press conference.
Mhm.
Um, that's scary,
Yeah.
you
Absolutely.
know?
Yeah. And I think too, like we don't. That's the thing. Like anybody could have. It's sort of like when the Cold War was going on, and it's like, are you Russian? Are you not? You know, where are there Russian spies everywhere? And now it's like the virus. Where is it? Is it with this guy? Did my husband touch? You know, come in contact with this person? And it's like anybody could have it. And it's like this scary like thing,
Hmm.
you know. And I think that one good technique is, especially like, I think a lot of us have like these false sort of feelings of like, I have the virus now. I don't
Right.
know if you have
Yeah, I
that.
woke up in the morning. I'm like, okay, the cough's gone, no fever.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, like one thing to do that's helped me is to just check your temperature, you know. If you,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, my throat, or like your mind plays tricks on you. Like, especially with all this fear and stuff, like your mind plays tricks on you. Just take your temperature and that will give you a fact. This is my temperature, like
Yeah.
that's a
100.4 is the
yeah.
number that the doctors tell me. If you've got that and you've got some of these other symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
go
But
get checked out. If you got the
oh,
sniffles, you're
yeah.
fine. It's just the cold.
Yeah, exactly. So then you'll know for sure. That's one thing that helps me is like, okay, I don't, you know. So let's see, my daughter is a senior. Oh yeah, I know. See, my kids are younger and they're home a lot anyways. So I told them because my son is 4 and my daughter's 2. I can imagine for older kids like teenagers and in high school, oh, that's got to be so hard because they're so social too. They just want to hang out with their friends, you know?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, but I want to live in Dale Frumpa's house.
Oh. Yeah, see, you do have fun times with your kids in the house too. But yeah, I'm sure teenagers are going nuts out of any of us, But my son, like I tried to explain to him because he wanted to. My daughter's birthday is actually at the end of the month, and so we had to cancel her birthday party. And so
Yeah.
just like, oh, is Isla gonna have her birthday? Because he wants cake, of course. Oh wow, yeah. Mom's talking about grandma. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandma's had cancer for a while, so anyways. Um so my son was just like that's funny laughter. Okay. I'm just reading the comments and I'm getting distracted.
Yeah.
um so my son's just like, are we gonna have a birthday party? And I'm like, no, because a lot of people are sick, so we don't want to spread the germs. And he's just like, okay, he doesn't know, he doesn't get it, so it's kind of nice that my kids are younger. Actually, I just let them like sort of lead things sometimes when I'm feeling stressed. Like I'm just like, bring me back to you and your level. Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like 97% of people will be fine. It definitely is tough though from what I've heard dealing with it, but you will pull through it. So like that takes away a lot of the fear. Yes, Animal Crossing, a lot of people are playing Animal Crossing. I think that like that game dropped like right in the nick of time.
And that's okay. I mean, that's a coping thing, right? Is, you know what? I'm going to do something that doesn't matter for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, and escape. I mean, that's why we're selling puzzles and movies and games and that sort of thing. I listed a bunch of cross stitching today. Like, I was like, wait, I've got this stuff. Like, I got like cross stitching, and there was one where you make like make your own rug or something from like scraps and all this vintage like patterns to make like a Clarabelle cow doorstop. I don't know. Like, if this stuff is gonna sell, it's gonna sell in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
So I looked at that today.
All right. I think I covered everything.
You probably did because you're a superstar. Does anybody? We still have
questions, maybe.
We kept with 15 people here, which is awesome. We bounced up to about 19. But again, I recognize this is not a reseller show. I mean, we're not talking about how to safely package China, right? Like, I get it. Though I think Courtney at Bolo Buddies, I think she had a video about that. I think that's who I watched it on. And I watched your thing today too, Emily. I saw you pack.
Yeah.
So there are other videos out there. This is not a particularly resellery thing, but it's what's going on. Yeah. Our world is everybody's world, so I think it's absolutely worth talking about.
Yeah, and a lot of people are talking about older people, temperatures. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I've heard temperatures getting up really high. So yeah, one good thing to just check on yourself, because I know we get in our heads about, do we have it or not? Just check your temperature. That's the number one thing, because that's the number one symptom too. So like, just keep an eye on your own temperature, and it will assure you if you don't have it. Of course, there's asymptomatic and stuff like that too. Like you could potentially have it, but just keep an eye on your temperature. Yeah. So yeah, the temperatures do get really high. Let's see.
Oh,
I like your version of Cat in the Hat.
yeah, my guy behind me there. I've had him. He was my uncle's when he passed away. That was the one thing. So I talked about it on one video. I think it was on a Sunday Live one time. Is he used to hang in Uncle Johnny's bedroom, and the lights were off when we would go over there, and all the little kids would be like, "You touch it, no, you touch it." So there's a lot of good memories with that guy.
Yep, have a good working thermometer. Anybody have any questions, maybe?
Yeah, we got a couple minutes with Emily left. If you guys have questions about mental health issues, whatever they are. I mean, Emily, is there, if people are going, you know what, I'm a reseller because I don't like to talk to people. I'm in the house by myself. I'm doing all this stuff. I mean, are there, who should they reach out to?
You gotta
Put me on
find
the spot.
just somebody you trust, really, like whether that be a family member or just a good friend. Just try and reach out to somebody that you trust and really just talk about how you're feeling. Like just get it out there, like because a lot of people are just like trying to hang on or pull through or pretend everything's okay. And it's okay to just get it out there because the sooner you get it out there, the sooner you can sort of handle it and you won't feel so alone. Because when you feel alone, that's when it gets worse. That's when your symptoms
Hmm.
get worse. So really, that's a major one. I know it feels embarrassing. It feels like vulnerable. You don't want to be vulnerable, but it's okay. It's okay to talk about difficult things, and a lot of people would love to help. You are worth helping too. Like you don't like minimize the way that you feel or minimize like, oh, no one's going to want to talk to me, or certain people struggle with that kind of thing. Like you matter and we care about you, like
Yeah.
you need to bring that out to a trusted person. I mean, you can DM me if you want to. It's not like I'll be able to reply to everybody. But just even have a DM box to vent to. Like even if there's not somebody even gonna reply, like just get it out there. Maybe just write it all out for yourself. Write out your fears and anxieties, and just that alone helps so much. you
Yeah.
know Even if there isn't anybody out there to talk to, you can still write it down. There's a lot of ways that you can manage it alone as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have, I mean, yeah, if you got anything and you're like, you know what, something's going on, I'm not feeling right, shoot me a message, shoot Emily a message.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly not experts. Well, I mean, Emily is a
I
little bit. I'm not, but
have experience. I'm not a medical professional or a mental health professional. Okay.
right.
But I will tell you things that I've learned, along the way, and things that actually work.
Anybody have any question? We got like 2 minutes left with the superstar. Have you sold out of all your turtles? Let's talk about something
Yeah.
resellery. Are they all
Yes.
done?
Almost. There's a couple of them I just haven't even listed because they're like incomplete. I should list them, but I've been so spoiled because it's just been like 90% of it has been totally complete sets of everything.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I don't want to list this incomplete one, but I could really make money off of it. It's just like getting around to doing it. But I
Yeah.
sold all my big ones. I had a local buyer, and it was so good just dropping off the big technodrome, the big
Mhm.
I don't know, I don't have a picture right now because maybe not everybody knows, but
It's
that
like
is,
Epcot Center.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
big play set basically, and it was going to be really hard to ship out. I'm glad that left before all this craziness happened, because who knows if he would have bought it, you know what I mean? So is your death pile gone? No, it's not. It's not. I definitely have I think a part of me is not wanting to list as much because I'm sort of hanging on to the fact that I still have inventory.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not the sole provider, so it's not like I have to make money right this instant. So I'm just sort of hanging on to the inventory I still have left. Maybe it's just one of those things like I don't want to face the fact that I'm not going to be able to go thrifting or garage sailing. Maybe that's a way that I cope personally. How about you, Troy? Do you have a big
Oh,
listing?
I've got. I don't want to show you because my place is a mess. But yeah, I've got. let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got like 12 or 14 big black totes of stuff. I
Wow.
mean, those aren't chock full to the top because they're separated by like we went through it, separated the death pile into, okay, this is the toys and stuffed animals death pile. This is the shoes death pile. And so now I can go to a tote and grab a tote and say, okay, now I'm going to work on the shoes
Yeah.
rather than it just being a cluttered mess.
Yeah, that's good.
So none of them were full to the top, but it's now a death fort is what it is what I'm calling it, because it's not just one big it's the death fort.
Yeah, my mom's doing auctions a lot. That's how she's been sourcing, which she's had some good online sourcing practice already because she does wholesale. She does bulk boxes and she does those auctions. Like because she lives kind of in the middle of nowhere, my mom. So like she needs to source online. So she's like I think she's still pretty much good to go. My mom is wholesale hunter, by the way.
Yeah. We should have had her on too.
Yeah, I don't know. She's been, I'm not going to say shy because she probably wouldn't admit it, but.
Well, she might not go on your show. She'll come on mine.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if she's going to comment on that or not. Okay, good. So a lot of people have a big death pile. See, I was such in the mindset, like, I'm not going to have a death pile, you know? And so that didn't really serve me well at this point. Like, I definitely made money, you know, because of that mentality, but now it's not helping me so much.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said before, I mean, that pile is like a lifeline for a lot of people at this point, right? I mean, especially if things are shut down.
Yeah.
So that could certainly lead to anxiety if you don't have anything to pull from. You have to find something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wednesday I'm going to be on Bolo Buddies.
Courtney's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not forgetting you, Courtney. I'm coming up on there too. I think I got to look at the calendar. I think it's in April. I think I've got like a month.
That is such a helpful show. Like it's just so inspiring, getting you like pumped about different categories of things you wouldn't think about, you know, and just like wanting you to get out there, you know. I really do like that show a lot. So I'm going to be on there sharing my bolos.
So it's just going to be a bunch of like your husband's old toys is what we're going to show.
Basically.
It's like the turtle show.
Yeah, there's going to be some turtles and some other vintage things.
Yeah.
That I'm excited to show. Yeah.
No, you're finding cool stuff. Oh, look, there we go. See, Courtney's all over it.
I worry about the full-time sellers. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Me too.
Have you seen a dip? Like I've seen a dip. A lot of people are like, "This is my best weekend ever." I think we did okay this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But usually I'm solid double figures, like 14, 15, 16 over a week, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we were 10, 11, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and that's up from what it was. I mean, earlier at the start of the week last week, I was selling like 1 or 2 a day until Thursday or Friday. So I feel like it's starting to pick up again, at least for me, where people are accepting new normal a little bit and they're getting out of panic mode because nobody wants to buy when they're scared.
Yeah, I was surprised how fast people started buying again. Like the first couple days, once we had like the shutdown, basically, like it was really quiet. Like that was my first time ever having like no sales in a day in a long time, right? And then once, like a couple days later, I was surprised. Like I think people would just like kind of got the gist of what was going on. They were able, like we're actually pretty flexible people. We can cope pretty well as humans, you know. Like we're so it didn't take long for people to get back into the groove of buying things.
Yeah, I'm selling some like I'm stuck in the house stuff, but like today I sent an offer on some animation cells from He-Man from like the 80s, and somebody bought that for like $30. That's not a need while you're in lockdown. That's just a, hey, I like He-Man. So, I
Exactly.
mean, people are buying stuff.
Well, collecting, a lot of collectors still just doing their thing.
And the GameCube sold. If you got a GameCube, list that thing. They were all in. I mean, I've got like 5 games with it, but it sold for $85 plus shipping. So
nice. Yeah, I sold a Nintendo with the box styrofoam and instructions and everything. So that was a good quick sale. Like I posted it was gone the next day. Like so definitely video games. I think a lot of people are saying that. I've sold some like some stuffed animals and things like that too. A lot of people are just like wanting some nostalgic sort of I think that's why they're buying it anyways. Who knows? Who knows exactly why they buy things, but
I pulled a plush Porg from Star Wars last night.
Yeah. Mom, the Thrift 30 challenge is not over. That ends April 14th, I believe. 15th? I think it's a Sunday. So 14th or 15th, something like that. I haven't sold anything from that challenge yet. But Troy has.
I sold 2. It's not a lot, but I sold 2.
You're probably in the lead now, actually.
A shirt and a pair of shoes.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I have shoes on shoes. I think you remember seeing my thing.
Yeah.
I sold a pair of shoes, but not Thrift 30 challenge shoes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I thought I was set good with my fancy expensive shoes, but now I wonder, like at this time, like who wants to spend that money
I know.
on a pair of shoes?
I'm really wondering how it's all going to shake down this coming month, like to see how this hits that or not, So Nurse Slipper sold one. Okay. Yeah. It's just a weird time, man. I think a lot of people have said that. I keep hearing that. And it is. It feels like the time between Christmas and New Year when you don't know what to do with yourself. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like, what's going on? So another good thing that helps me is having a schedule. Just filling your time and not like sticking to it like a maniac, like a robot, but really just having a guide of like, okay, this is the kind of the stuff I need to get done. Because especially if you had a job, a full-time job, and now all of a sudden you have all this open space, just try to plan out your open space a little bit. For me, I have a really set schedule that helps me. I do hour by hour because I need to make sure I hit everything that needs to be done in the day. But yeah, just try and schedule out your time a little bit. Plan your day or your week. Sort of make your life again, especially if all of a sudden you're out of a full-time job and all of a sudden you're full-time reselling or whatever your situation may be. That's definitely been helpful for me just to have some structure because it just
Well, that goes back to controlling what you can control, right?
Exactly. Yes, staying in that sphere of control and not outside of that and staying outside of that. Like, what are we gonna do about Yeah, it's tough staying in that sphere, but just try. Feels like a snow day with no snow. Yeah. Today there was snow where I am though. And I just want it to be spring, so.
Well, I wanted garage sale season, and I don't know if we're gonna. That's what I'm curious about too. Is like how quickly are people going to jump back into that?
I was surprised people were having a garage sale near you. Like I was like, wow.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't straight up garage sale, but I mean, it was as close as.
Yeah.
And she actually got like, she told me she was getting like some kind of nasty messages through Facebook about holding it.
Everybody who does anything is going to get the messages.
Yeah.
So if I am going to go do something, like I wouldn't, I'm not going to go, like everything's shut down. What am I going to do anyways?
Right.
But if I'm not going to be telling people.
Yeah. Well, and she was like, look, this is what we're doing anyway. If you want to come, you can come. I'm not telling you've got to come. And honestly, there were not that many people there. So it was one of those things where, and that's what I told my wife. I said that house that we were pulling stuff out of, that is coronavirus free because it's been sealed up for 10 years. So there's nothing in there other than, mice. You got to worry about them. But
that's a whole different set of problems. Oh, hi, Jackson. That's my little brother.
Oh,
He's actually in the picture right there with the glasses on. How's Jackson doing, Mom? But yeah, I guess my kids are too young to understand, so that's kind of a nice thing. I sort of just like enter into their in mold. I their world a little bit and just like play like, what's that? This little piggy, or just
Mhm.
try and just focus on them, just like focus on something that's positive. And my kids are definitely little rays of sunshine, and they're such a help for me that they don't even know. They just help keep me grounded a lot. So,
Yeah, my daughter is. She's been talking about getting a job, getting her first job, and I'm like, you know what? I can teach you how to make more than you can make working at that, and she just doesn't dig it. She's
no,
just like, and
I
I'm like, "Wait, you're making like $9 an hour there, kid." Like,
I don't understand why everybody isn't doing reselling. You know what I mean?
I know. I'm like, come with me to
So,
one garage sale.
yeah.
But she now that she doesn't have school all day long,
hmm
she's like, hey, will you take me to go get a job application? So we're gonna go down to the supermarket that some of the kids from our high school work at, and
hmm And it has
so
her idea too. Like if you're pushing it, she doesn't want to do it automatically. That's how it works.
right. She's got a few times. She's got a good eye. I'm like, I want you guys to go with me. You find good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I bet you my son is gonna have a good eye too. He sees all this stuff and he's like, "Are you gonna sell that?" He's always talking about it. My son is smart too. He could be a little business kid for sure. Oh yeah, I was thinking of doing some auctions. The thing is, it's hard for me to stay up that late sometimes. They don't care for it either. Aw. See, I don't even understand that. Ah, Emily has all these college degrees and is a teacher, but fate had other plans for digging through dirty bins. It's my passion. I love it. I can't help it. You taught me that, Mom. She was actually doing eBay for years, in the background. Like she never pushed me into it. I just saw her doing it, and it sort of stuck around in our family,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah, Mom sort of led me in that direction, whether I realized it or not.
Well, Emily, it's
Yeah.
been an hour and 12 minutes. I feel like I should let you go.
Okay, okay.
Any other questions before we release Emily? And I do have um we got this little guy. This guy's heading out to Emily. This is her door prize.
Yay!
He's
You
vintage.
here with my other ones. Here's my other ones. See? Charmander's my favorite, everybody. I have a bunch of them. And he's vintage too. I'm excited. Thank you.
Yeah, he's from China, but he's vintage because he's the Tommy.
That
So
better infect that thing.
he's going in lots of bubble.
But everything's from China, so what are we gonna do? I don't know.
I learned that today. We can't even make penicillin anymore without materials from China or
Yeah.
vitamin C or aspirin.
Wow.
Yeah. See, useless information that you learned for tuning in.
It seems like everyone's good.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Philly picker. That's funny. Alrighty.
Apparently, my mother is watching as well, saying that instead of coronavirus, I had to think about hantavirus. Yes, I had to worry about the mice, Mom.
Alrighty.
So, Emily, thanks so much for joining today.
Yeah.
We had quite a few people show up, and I think a lot of people are going to catch this after the fact. And I think you shared a lot of really cool information, and I appreciate you being open to chatting about it. And I put a link somewhere. If people watch that live chat, there's a link to like some meditation apps near the beginning that have been sort of vetted by the professionals. And it's actually a cool page. It takes you to I can paste it again. I got it somewhere. The page actually takes you to it's like a list. It tells you this is what this app is, this is what it's called, this is what it does, here's how much it is. It breaks everything down. So if that's something that interests you, meditation and just mindfulness and that sort of thing, that is a really cool app. So that's a potential source for you. And if you need to reach out again, shoot me. I'm on Instagram. Emily's on Instagram.
Yep.
I'm just Mountain Man Treasure. Emily is Emily E. Conway, right?
That is Emily E. Conway
on Instagram. So go follow her anyway. You don't have to want to talk to her, but she posts cool stuff. Emily, thanks for coming in.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Troy.
Guys, thanks for stopping by. I'll let you know when the next one is. We're trying to do it like every other week or so. So maybe in 2 weeks we'll do this again. Who's going to be here? I don't know.